So, if you've played a game, whether that's on a PlayStation, an Xbox, a smartphone, your nan's electric hob, you know, you've probably heard of the company Ubisoft, which are more well known now for series such as Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, Just Dance, Tom Clancy's. So, with all the success that they've had nowadays, they had to start somewhere, and that somewhere was September 1995 when they released Rayman for the Atari Jaguar and the PlayStation. It was originally designed by Michel Ancel when he was just a teenager, and that's just pretty mad to think that he made such an empire at such a young age. It became one of the best-selling PlayStation games of all time in the UK, with around 5 million copies sold. So, of course, with that much success, people are always asking, when's the sequel coming out? So originally the development for Rayman 2 was going to be the same as the first game, and that was a 2D platformer. However, 3D platformers were on the rise at the time, with the Nintendo 64 newly coming out, and such games as Mario 64 really setting the scene for the next generation of video games. However, Ubisoft didn't just jump straight in with Rayman 2 as their first 3D game. They wanted to make a game before that to sort of test the waters, if you will. They even used the same engine that they used for Rayman 2. And this game was called Tonic Trouble. And Tonic Trouble started pre-production in about June 1996, but multiple delays meant the game didn't get released until August 1999, which was just 2 months before Rayman 2 came out. Now, there was sort of a mixed reception when Tonic Trouble came out. Some people saying it was great, some people saying it was shit, some people just saying it was alright. And it sold around 1.1 million copies, which, if you think about it, for the N64 being not the most successful console, it did alright. It did its job in being a game. Now, Michel Ancel was involved in the making of Tonic Trouble, and we have to start asking questions now. What does the guy have against arms and legs? I mean, he must fucking hate me, because I'm lanky as fuck. My arms drag along the floor as I walk. But anyway, kind of getting sidetracked there. Let's talk a little bit about our limbless friend here, who, for the longest time in my childhood, I called him Tonic, because I must have been obsessed with a little blue hedgehog who runs very fast. Contrary to popular belief, his name isn't Tonic, it's Ed. I know. What a creative name. No, not this Ed. That Ed. No, not that Ed. That's Eddie. Ed. Ed. Eddie! So, in the full release of the game, there's a cutscene, the controls are tight and responsive, and it is probably an alright experience, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to discuss what I grew up on, and that was the big mistake that someone made at Ubisoft. You see, in an attempt to try and get the game out to the masses, they decided that they would bundle it in with graphics cards and computers. Now, that would have been fine if they had done it right, but somebody colossally fucked up at Ubisoft, and I mean monumentally. They probably got fired. See, it appears that someone accidentally released the beta version with these freebies instead of the actual version. So you're probably asking, Harold, honestly, how bad could a beta version have been?
You'd best put seatbelts on your ears, Roy, because I'm going to take them for the ride of their lives.
Seeing this beta, you can clearly see why the game took so long to come out, and that is the controls. Now, like I said, in the full release of the game, it controls very similarly to Mario 64, but in this beta version, it's just dreadful. I mean, I don't know whose idea it was to make the controls like this, but the best way I can describe it is tank controls. In early PlayStation 1 era, 3D games were mainly controlled with tank controls, like Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, all these sort of games. But they're not truly 3D platformers. I mean, Tomb Raider kind of is, but the control scheme works for it. The game was designed around these controls, whereas Tonic Trouble was designed like Mario 64 and just dumped with these jank fucking controls. Now, if you're unfamiliar with tank controls, the way they work is there is a fixed camera and you can only move forward and backwards. You cannot move side to side. The way you move side to side is you have to turn the character manually and then walk forward. It's alright, it's okay for games like Resident Evil because they're survival horror games. They're not for precise jumps. They get you from A to B just fine. But in a game like Tonic Trouble, it's very, very painful. And also, when Ed jumps, he's a hefty boy. I mean, I know he doesn't look it because he lacks arms and legs. You would have thought he would have felt quite light to jump, but fuck me, has he been on the McDonald's. When he jumps, he goes up so slowly and just... I genuinely don't know how to describe how it feels. You have to sort of play it to understand. It's just awful. That's the only way I can describe it. It's just, he feels fucking fat. He's hiding weight in there somewhere. I mean, I don't know what the fuck he's made of, but it is clearly titanium. Now, I decided I would like to have a nostalgia trip, shall we say, and I downloaded the game, the beta version that is, and I decided to play it for your enjoyment. So here is my experience with Tonic Trouble Beta Boys. Okay, so I got the game, I booted it up, and this is the first thing that comes up on the screen when you open the game. No cutscene, no music, nothing like that, just this. Now, I'd like to apologise in advance for the way the game looks, because this is the only way I could get it to work, is in this resolution. I know it looks quite bad, but it's the only way I could get it to work. So apologies in advance. I'm well aware the game does not look its sharpest. But please keep in mind, this is the beta version of the game. This is not the full version. This is the beta version. So to start things off, I thought I'd start by entering my name in a new game. Just Harold. Yeah, Harold will do. That's fine. Fantastic. Now the game boots you straight into this stage, which is the snowboarding, the sledging, whatever you want to call it stage. Credit where credit is due. This is a great opening stage. It's very similar to the opening stage in Rayman 2. It is very fun, and I always loved going back to it as a kid to play it again and again and again to try and beat my best time, because I wasn't very good at the games as a kid, so I couldn't get very far. And you'll see why as we get through, but great start to the game. Credit where credit is due. Also, I have to say, the music is so good in this first stage. I just love this first stage. There's also little shortcuts, things you can take. I memorise them off by heart, so I know them all, but some of them are not as obvious. There's these little drawings on the wall. Some of them you can go through, some of them you can't. It's just guessing pretty much at first, but I have a lot of praise for this first stage, as you can see, because I think the game starts off as a high and it never quite reaches that high again, I'm afraid. And when you finish the race, you plummet into this pool, as you can see, and it takes forever to walk over to the pool. There's nothing of note here. There's nothing important here. I don't know why it takes you so long to go all the way over there. It just goes from great to dull so quickly. It's just, I just fucking can't. So you go through the portal and you're greeted to this great big fucking thing, which I have no idea why it's there, what its purpose is. It literally does nothing. And you can see this man banging on a jail cell, which as a child, it did unsettle me a bit, not gonna lie. I was a bit scared of the man in the jail cell. And you're actually supposed to go down this secret bit here, which looks fairly obvious, but if you don't know what you're looking for, I don't know how you're supposed to find it. And it takes you into this next level, and this next level, good fucking lord, really, really infuriated me. It is just, you can see what I mean by it's designed like Mario 64, but does not play like it whatsoever. There's all these platforms, these floating red platforms, and trying to be precise and rushed, because these platforms disappear if you stand on them for too long. You have to be so fucking perfect in jumping, because when Tonic jumps, if you're holding down forward, he fucking launches himself across the room. I mean, fuck me, the guy's taken off. And if you don't hold down forward whilst jumping, you get no momentum whatsoever to go forward. So you're either fucking flying off and beating the men's world record long jump by like 20 meters, or you're just jumping up and down, pretty much. I don't know how the game goes from such a fun opening to trying to introduce you to platforming, and it is just woeful. I do not like this stage whatsoever. Now, Tonic has a ledge grab in his moveset, but this thing doesn't want to work all the time. It decides your fate for you. There is some being deciding whether you live or die when you try and ledge grab. Sometimes Tonic likes to do it perfectly. Sometimes he likes to glitch out and give you a little heart attack but still grab onto it. You know, tease you a little bit, play with you. And sometimes it just flat out doesn't work and you fall to your fucking death. Now you come into this little room after all that, and it tries to do some sort of puzzle solving, I guess, but it's really not that hard. There's just clearly a very obvious hole in the pipe and two pipes that you can use to fix it. Now I will say, because this is a beta version, I'll cut it some slack by the way you push the boxes, because there's no pushing animation or anything, you just have to run into them. And then once that's done, you go up the lift and you find these metal bars that Tonic can very clearly fit through. But so you have a little look around and you find this popcorn machine. You use it. He eats a popcorn and suddenly, holy fucking shit! He is fucking swole as hell. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger is shaking right now. I can see what the game is trying to do. It's trying to introduce you to all the mechanics at the same time in such a small level. And it kind of works and kind of doesn't. It's trying to introduce you to, this is what I believe is called Super Ed. It's trying to introduce you to platforming. And it's also tries to introduce you to a little bit of swimming as well. Just to like show you, oh look, I can't swim this deep. And then at the end of the level, you come to this room and there's a guy and you've got to use everything you've learnt to try and defeat him, which really isn't that hard. Once you beat him, he drops a cane, which I didn't notice at first. So I was like, what the fuck do I do? And then I went back over and saw it poking out. And it picks it up. It doesn't give you any indication or anything like that, which is tad annoying. But we got there in the end. You free this guy, which I don't know what his name is. I'm just assuming he's the professor because, you know, he looks like a professor. Now, after you release him, you start to get an idea of what the game is going for. Because he says to you, he's got to make this machine to send you to the final boss. And you've got to collect all the parts to get to this machine. There's a blackboard with all the bits that you need written down. So the game tells you what's going down very early on. Now there's 6 different things to get and 6 of them in each level. So obviously there's 6 levels and 6 collectibles to get. What's their obsession with 6? I don't know. But it works. It works. Now the problem I have is it doesn't tell you where to go. It lets you explore it on your own, which is fine. You know, a lot of games do this where it lets you try and figure it out on your own. But I don't know what it is about this game. It just makes you feel so clueless. So as I was exploring, I went round this corner and I found one of the most terrifying specimens I have ever seen in my life. Young viewers, you may want to look away, because this is some fucked up shit. I couldn't handle it. I had to run away. So I eventually found the entrance to the first level, which is a haunted house kind of level. And it takes the platforming and ramps it up just to fuck you over. There's these tiny little wooden platforms. There's one moving, I wouldn't say cart section, it's more like a floating platform section where you control the speed of which the platform goes and you have to dodge these electric things. It would work if I knew how to control the platform. It doesn't tell you how to control the platform. I eventually worked out that you had to stand near the back to make it go slow, but if you stood towards the front, it also went slow. It was just fucking confusing. So I got through the level eventually, got all the 6 springs, brought them back to the dock. Next he tells me he needs pinwheels, but I would just like to leave this little bit in here just so you can get an idea of how fucking insane this geezer is.
I've dug up my old prototype propeller concept. It didn't quite work last time. My poor wife. Well, anyway...
No. You don't just get to but anyway that. I need some explanations. What the fuck? What happened? Now, every time you bring him back these items, he gives you an upgrade to add to your moveset. And these are a blowpipe, a flying bow tie, a scuba helmet, a weird mummy granny disguise, and a pogo stick. And to start with, these levels incorporate these movesets into its design. Like, you know, you've got targets to shoot with the blowpipe when you get it. You have to swim underwater with the scuba helmet. But there's one move that makes no fucking sense whatsoever. And that is the weird granny disguise. I don't even know what it's... Is it a mummy or a granny? Or is it... I don't know. But it serves no purpose other than to get you into the level. And then that's it. You never use it ever again. So I went to the next level and there was 2 targets and 2 halves of a bridge. So I shot one target with my blowpipe, fell down, turned around, shot the other target. The bridge went back up. I was like, who the fuck's playing with me here? So it turns out you've got to shoot the same target twice, which is really weird, but anyway. And then you come over to this door, you bang up a super red, and now the second level, it was okay, you know, bit of platforming, bit of blowpiping, you know, the standard. It was an alright level, you know. So I got me 6 spin tops and I went back to the professor to get the next mission. And he gives you the gift of flight. This level sort of confused me a little bit because each of these levels so far, as you've been going through the levels, you've been getting gradually the items that you've been needing to get. But this level, you have to go through so much before you even find the first one. I mean, you go for a while before you find one, and they're all grouped together at the end of the stage. So going through the stage, I was thinking, have I gone past one? Am I going to have to come back? Shitting myself that I would have to backtrack a lot. But it turns out that wasn't the case, thankfully. But just a little indication would have been nice, or to play like any of the other levels would have been nice. So again, got the 6 items, went back to the professor, and he gave me the next upgrade, which was the scuba helmet. Now this next level incorporated again all the power-ups that you've previously got, but again, it doesn't help you out on where to go. It's very confusing. It gives you lots of different parts of the stage at once and just fucks with your head so much. But I got there in the end, and we move on to the next stage, which was the granny upgrade. You only use this to get into the stage, and then you never use it again. Why the fuck it's in the game, I have no idea. But this level did piss me off a bit, because again, with this puzzle solving, but it gives you no indications of any of them, no hints, nothing. It just drops you in and say, here you are, solve this shit. What do I look like to you? Bloody skullduggery pleasant? No. You gotta give me something here. Now this level and the next level were the ones that really took up the time in my playthrough. All the other ones I had not much issue with at all. But these two bastards, they decided to just flip the switch for some ungodly reason, I don't know. Now the last one is quite short and very linear, but there's so many chances you can easily miss these collectibles because they're just in places that you could quite easily walk past. I mean, I had to go through it at least 2-3 times to get all the pieces because I just quite easily missed some. But that could just be me being unobservant. Now that you've got all the pieces, it's finally time to take on the final level. And this final level is the biggest disappointment I have ever played in my life. You don't use any of your previous power-ups, there's no boss fight, nothing. It's just platforming, more platforming, which is fine because it's a 3D platformer, but what's the point in giving me all these cool upgrades if I'm not going to use them? The game does such a great job in setting all these scenes with all this great music and the atmosphere, and then the final boss is just... well, there isn't one. There is no final boss. It does a great job in setting the scene, and then you get to the end, and this happens.
Why'd you do that? That hurt. I'm not playing anymore. What? You want me to tell you that you've won? Okay, you've won. There. Happy now? I was fed up with that stupid can anyway. Take it and keep it, for all I care.
Yeah, and then it just cuts to the credits, just like that. And hey, wait a minute, I think I've seen you before. And that's it. That's the game. That is the Tonic Trouble that was never supposed to be released, but got released. I do not recommend that you play this game. Do not go out and find it. Do not download it. And do not play it. Play the original version that was meant to come out on the N64. Do not play this version. This version needs to be buried, burnt, whatever. Just get rid of it. It does not need to be seen ever again. This should be the last time you ever see this, ever. So this is the end of my review of the Tonic Trouble beta. The beta, that is. I don't know what the actual game is like. I've never played it. But thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you didn't, dislike it. I'd appreciate it if you subscribed and leave me your thoughts on this video in the comments. Let me know what version you grew up with, if you grew up with it. I really do appreciate every bit of feedback I get, and I'd just like to thank you for watching. I also have a Twitch channel where I stream all the games that I play for my reviews, and hopefully I would like to do more of this, and all help is appreciated. And as always, it's be the place.